from Target for IQ. This video is in continuation with previous video titled as Introduction to Indian Contract Act. Today we will discuss the topic Types of Contract. Contracts can be divided on the basis of validity and on the basis of performance. On the basis of validity, we can divide the contracts into 5 types. Firstly, voidable contracts, void agreement, unenforceable contracts, valid contracts and illegal contracts. And on the basis of performance, we can divide them into 6 types: executed contracts, executory contracts, unilateral contracts, bilateral contracts, express contracts and implied contracts. If you like my video, please do like, share and subscribe, and if you have any doubts, you can post your questions below in the comment section. I have also posted certain questions at the end of this video in order to make you revise the topics which we have discussed till now. Now we will discuss the types of contract in detail. Voidable contract. Voidable contract term is defined under section 2I of Indian Contract Act. It means an agreement which is enforceable by law at the option of one or more parties to the contract, but not at the option of the party who is proposing the contract. For instance, A is intending to deceive B. So, he falsely represents to B that his factory produces 500 monds of indigo annually. Thereby, B gets impressed from A's factory's working and agrees to buy the same. So, this contract is voidable at the option of B. Now, second is void agreement. It is defined under section 2G of the Indian Contract Act. We often make the mistake of writing that void agreement is void contract. There is nothing as void contract because it is a void agreement. Since the agreement not enforceable by law is said to be void, for instance, an agreement with a person who is not a major, that is below the age of 18 years, is a void agreement. So, agreement is not yet turned into contract, so it will be referred as void agreement and not as void contract. Thirdly, unenforceable contract. It is a valid contract, but it cannot be fulfilled against any of the two parties due to some technical issue. For instance, like it was not properly stamped, registered or properly written. So, if these technicalities are removed, the contract can become enforceable. For example, in case of unstamped bill of exchange or promissory note, the contract is rendered unenforceable. But if we get them stamped later on, the contract can turn enforceable again. Fourthly, valid contract. It is defined under section 2H of the Indian Contract Act. We often enter into contracts on our daily life. For example, when we purchase vegetables, we also enter into contract. So, any agreement enforceable by law is a contract, but it must fulfill the essentials as provided under section 10 of the Indian Contract Act. For example, A enters into a contract with B, where B has to take science classes of A's children and B would be remunerated by A in return. So, above illustration fulfills the essentials of a valid contract. Fifth, illegal contract. Any agreement which is in contravention of law, which is in force or is opposed to public or moral values of society. For example, A enters into a contract with B to murder C. Here the object of the contract being illegal, so it renders the contract illegal. We can have other examples also, like A and B enter into a contract to dishonestly marry C and D. So, this contract is not in the right intention, so it is also an illegal contract. Now, based on performance, executed contract. It is a contract that is fully legal and all parties involved have signed immediately and the terms of contract are fulfilled instantly. Example, Rohan wants to purchase a laptop and he goes to the store and chooses one and makes payment for the same. So, here this contract is executed since all the terms of the contract are met. Executory contract is a type of contract where terms of the contract are pre-decided by the parties, but their fulfillment will take place on some later date as per the terms of the contract. For example, we often purchase our gadgets on lease. So here a particular amount is prescribed which has to be paid on a particular time, say monthly or 6 monthly. Until the price is paid in full, the contract is executory in nature. Unilateral contract. It is a contract in which offeror promises to pay after the occurrence of specified act. For example, Amit puts a hoarding near his house regarding description of his lost wallet. Here, Birbal finds the same and returns it to Amit and collects reward from Amit for his kind act. Here, Amit made a promise that is open and available to anyone who performs the required action. So, it is an illustration for unilateral contract. Bilateral contract. In this type of contract, both parties promise to fulfill certain obligations to complete the deal. For instance, Suraj offers his home for sale and Mukul agrees to pay rupees 5 lakh to purchase the home. Here both parties make certain promise to each other for the fulfillment of the contract. So this contract is an illustration of bilateral contract. Express contract. In express contract, all the terms of the contract have been specifically stated either in oral or written form. जैसे Mridul signed an agreement to purchase a house. Here, the agreement contains all the conditions expressly or properly written on a piece of paper. So, it is an example of express contract. Implied contract. It is an agreement which occurs based on the conduct of parties and it is not in any written form. For example, it is implied to pay for the services we take at a nail studio. And we often go to a barber shop and we get our haircut done. So, after the haircut is done, we pay barber a particular amount. So, it is an implied contract on our part to pay for the services of the barber which we have received from him. So, here we do not enter into any express contract. We take the services. It is obvious on our part to pay for them. I hope you understood this video. Now, here are some questions to make your understanding more clear. First question. An agreement not enforceable by law is stated to be void under option A, section 2D of Indian Contract Act, option B, section 2E of Indian Contract Act, option C, section 2F of Indian Contract Act, option D, section 2G of Indian Contract Act. So, an agreement not enforceable by law is stated to be void under section 2G of Indian Contract Act. Question 2. The interpretation clause of Indian Contract Act 1872 has been provided in option A, section 1, option 2, section 2, option C, section 3 and option D, none of the above. So, this was told by me in my last video. So, option B is the correct answer. Interpretation clause of Indian Contract Act has been provided in section 2 of the Act. Question number 3. A contract is option A, a set of promises forming consideration for each other. Option B, an agreement acceptable to both the parties. Option C, an understanding between the parties about a common thing. Option D, an agreement enforceable by law. So, here the contract is an agreement enforceable by law. So, option D is the correct answer. Now, question number 4. A unilateral contract is one in which only one party is bound, is also known as a point 1 tacit contract, point 2 implied contract, point C executed contract and point D executor contract. So, here executor contract is the other name of unilateral contract. So, option D is the right answer. I hope you like this video. So, please do like, share and subscribe and please stay tuned and stay safe. Thank you.